Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I am your host, Dennis Patholkis, and this is Swamp Thing, Season 1, Episode 6, The Price You Pay. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to those of you in the chat as well. It looks like Viking Bitch and Movie Finobi. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Movie Finobi. I was going to make the joke to Viking Bitch about you, but since you already made it, there you go. There we go. Hey, Pen Farm Girl. It's the usual crew of people, the usual suspects here. I'm going to start off here with business first. Usually I do the business at the end. I like to mix it up a little bit and put it at the beginning sometimes. If you like what you see here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. You can hit the dislike button like 3 of you have in one of my previous videos. I just ask you go down below in the comment section. Tell me what it is you don't like. Give me some constructive criticism about what it is you don't like. I answer back. I really do. And let me know what you like or what you don't like, that kind of thing. Also, if you want to know when I'm going to be on live again next, you can hit the little bell down below there. If you already hit it, don't hit it again. It will unclick it. You can go into the bells system itself and get as many or as little notifications as you want. And you can see all of my schedule up at suspendedfanimation.com. It's also on my Facebook page as well for Suspended Fanimation. Just look up Suspended Fanimation on Facebook there, and you'll see that exact same info up there as well. I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, I also have a Patreon page, but I don't have any tiers yet on the Patreon page. Yes, I know. I suck about that one. I just don't have enough time in the day, unfortunately. Yes, there we go. So I'm going to say this flat out here. Spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the episode. If you haven't watched the episode, go and watch it. Come on back. This will be a video you can comment down below in the comment section. Thank you, Viking Bitch, for the paddle. And I might need to use this on you depending on what you're saying there in the chat. So, although Finobi would get jealous because, never mind. So the price you pay, that title actually refers to pretty much everybody in this episode. And yeah, it seems like Mirai, the town here, is more of a nexus of bad intent for everybody, of everything that's going on. And we'll get into it here as I go into the recap, and then of course talk a little bit more about it as you guys are in there. So we see Abby at the bridge, remembering this conversation with Alec that she had the night that he turned. And of course, Swamp Thing is out in the swamp. He's kind of hearing it, I guess, as well. I don't know if they're linked now or what's going on. It's not really clear if they're linked or what's happening, but it's almost seems like he's listening in on what her thoughts are. And he comes across an injured rabbit and then walks straight into a bear trap that grabs his leg. And we see these hunters out in the woods there start shooting him with trank darts. And he pulls the trank darts off and rips the bear trap in half. It's a huge bear trap, too, by the way. And starts going after the hunters. And one of the hunters, it's a guy and girl team. And the guy says, you know what, fuck this. He's not paying me enough to die out here. I'm going to kill this thing. So he pulls out his gun and starts shooting at Alec. Now, in the meantime, Alec has, given up on trying to be nice guy at this point, and he starts slamming his hand into trees, turning the trees into little flechettes. Like you see these wooden little spears come flying out, and the hunters are like, screw this, we're going back to the boat. And they start running back to the boat. The woman gets hit in the leg, and then as the guy is trying to help her, he turns around and gets a face full of splinters. Pretty nasty stuff. And he starts screaming, and they make it back to the boat. And Swampy, of course, is pissed off at this point, but they get back to the boat and escape. Woodrow, in the meantime, is in the lab listening to classical music, and he takes a little bit of the serum that he has made up from Swampy's little leaves that he found in the lab and injects it into an IV bag that's sitting over on the desk, on Abby's desk. And why she has it sitting in her desk, I have no idea. But hey, that's neither here nor there. Yeah. In the meantime, Daniel Cassidy is in a coma, He's intubated, so basically he's on a ventilator. He's having a machine breathe for him because he's actually pretty fucked up at this point. Um, and of course, Abby's saying, there's no way he's going to come out of this because he's essentially brain dead. The machine's breathing for him. Liz feels really bad about this because she said she's the one that poked the bear. She's the reason why Daniel's in the state that he's in. So yeah, and then she tells Abby about that Avery was the one that did this, that he sent guys after her because she was investigating a story about him. And of course she has no proof, so otherwise she would go to the cops. But even though she can't go to the cops because Lucia is in Avery's pocket as well. And Abby's like, well, you know what? I'm going to do something about it because that's what you want, is this little skinny 96-pound girl walking into some dude who's already killed a couple of people now at this point into his office, or however it is, and confronting him. I don't care if you lived with him or not. I mean, yeah, that's some really big shit to do. But so Cassie in the meantime is dreaming. So supposedly he's brain dead. Remember, this is what Abby said, is he's brain dead, yet he's got eye movement going on, which indicates otherwise. So either the hospital has some really bad equipment, or Abby's just a really bad doctor. One or the other. Take your pick. And he's remembering back to how he became, or how he got cursed, if you will, or whatever it is that he's got going on. And he's on the set of Blue Devil in Mirai, and he meets this guy. And this guy is a producer or from the studio, and they're talking about the actor who's playing the Blue Devil and how he's just kind of an asshole. He's a douchebag, and they're having to retake stuff. And Daniel is the stuntman for him, and they won't even look at him for the role. They didn't look at him for the role or anything like that, even though he's been playing this role with this guy. So the stranger, the studio guy, says, well, what, how would you like me to make a couple of calls and get you into a role like this? And he's like, well, what do you mean, kind of thing? Is all you have to do is just do me a favor. And that's where we leave off at. And by the way, if you hear a beeping in the background, I have no idea what the fuck that is. Same as you. I think it's from outside. I don't know. Sorry, whatever it is. Because, yeah, it's not from in here. So, Avery wants the doctor to give something to Maria to keep her from her destructive behavior, is what he says. He goes, it's just getting worse. I want you to do something. Give her something for it. And the doctor's like, okay. And this is when Abby runs into him and goes, what the hell, man? Stop sending people after my friends, Liz. And he goes, wait a minute. Come over here with me, someplace private. He goes, these are pretty heavy accusations that you're, saying to me. And, she basically tells him that, Cassidy is in a coma because of him, because of the guys that he sent that were going after Liz, and they put Cassidy in the hospital instead. And he's like, well, it's a big shame what happened to that guy. We're all pulling for the kid, and if any hospital costs I can pay for it. He's basically sounding like a politician at this point. And that's when he brings up the whole, what, I took you in from nothing, and this is how you repay me kind of thing, by giving me all these accusations. And just before she's about to say something, she gets called to the ER. And he stops her and goes, he goes, I really like you. But as he puts it, he goes, but if you bring up something like this to me again, he's not going to be so forgiving. So he just basically out and out threatens her at this point, because he's pretty much had enough for bullshit. And she went into this with no plan whatsoever. Just like, you know what? I'm going to tell you that you're an asshole and to stop doing this stuff. And he's like, I've killed a couple of people already. I have no qualms about killing you too. Yeah. So, like I said, 96-pound girl coming up to him and telling him that, I'm pissed at you. Okay, that's great. You got the town sheriff. He's got the town sheriff in his pocket. Probably the mayor as well, probably everybody else, because he's given everyone a job in that town. No one's going to listen to her unless she brings in the FBI or something like that. Oh, man. So in the meantime, the hunters are in the ER with, their injuries. And Liz is telling Abby that, yeah, the descriptions they gave are of Alec, pretty much how you say Alec looks like. And she goes, no, that can't be. Alec wouldn't do anything like this. That's not his MO. He's nice. He's a nice guy. Again, Abby is a fucking horrible judge of character on people. And the writing on this episode was just kind of all over the place, just in terms of the characters. I don't know what was going on, but it still wasn't a bad episode. It just, the writing on the characters themselves was kind of weird. So Abby says that he couldn't have done this and that there has to be an explanation. So she goes to go find Alec. That's what she normally does, is she stomps out of the hospital and goes back out to the swamp. Matt, in the meantime, comes over to his mom, Lucia's office, and to report on Maria's incident. And Lucia tells him that Remy Dubois' brother came in and cried like a baby when he ID'd the body. And Matt says he's sure that whatever went down was justified. And that pisses her off. She goes, justified? She goes, I did this to save your ass, kind of thing. And, he said that you were out there. He saw you out there, that you were the one that went and killed Alec. And he tries to deny this. He's like, no, I didn't. I wasn't out there. And yeah, you were. And yeah, the mom smacked, man. She smacked him a couple times too. I was kind of surprised. I mean, that's not professional work. Well, first of all, you're working with your mom. One thing. And then also you're subordinate to your mom because, you're working with your mom. And then she starts smacking you at work. These are things that make you not want to work with your mom and probably work someplace else, which is what he says later on here. But yeah, she basically, he finally owns up to it, says that yes, he was working for Avery and that basically he's getting money that he needed. And she goes, well, if you needed money, you always could have come to me. He goes, bullshit. He says, you don't have the money. He does. That's what I needed. That's what I worked for. Again, this is the price that he's paying for working for Avery. And she says, well, that piece of boat that they found with the bullet holes in it are not going to match. They're not going to, and forensics is not going to match anything up with it. So don't worry about that. And he, when she blames about the bribery money from Avery, he goes, well, you've done worse. You've taken bribes and you're even fucking him, is what he says. And she goes to slap him again, and he catches her arm and says, you know what? He goes, maybe it's time for me to put in, to apply to other departments to get away from you. And that's when they get interrupted by a deputy telling about the the hunters out in the swamp that they were attacked. And Matt's pretty much about to write it off and go, yeah, we'll just leave it for Fish and Game to go and investigate. She's like, no, you're going out there tonight, investigating it, and get the fuck away from me, is what she says to him. Yeah, get out. She wants him out of her fucking sight, as she says. I like the way she delivered the line, actually. It was pretty nicely done. Yeah, I know. I mean, man, this is some really, I'm sorry, I went backwards by you on there with the whole, in her fucking the guy who's the benefactor of the town and her son working for her and the son, killing. So she's got a price to pay as well because she is fucking Avery. And then also she's covering up for her son. So there's another thing into the price you pay. And then Liz, of course, paying for what she was doing for, poking the bear, as she says, looking into Avery's crap. And Daniel ended up taking the brunt end of that. And we also have Daniel recounting how he has his curse, if you will. Yeah. So the Woodrow tainted IV bag, as I call it, makes its way to Daniel's room and gets hooked up into Daniel, and it goes into him. Liz is sitting in the chair. She's asleep in the chair. And we start hearing his pulse rate going up a bit more. And we see him back to dreaming about the deal that he's making with the guy who, as he says, he needs someone in Mariah. At first, Daniel's like, yeah, he goes, I don't know about, a favor. Usually the Hollywood favors are something else. And the guy starts laughing. He goes, no, nothing like that. This is totally above board. He goes, I just need a person in Mariah that I can trust. And he says to look over a woman who's going to come here sooner or later, is what he says. And Daniel agrees to it and shakes hands with the guy. And as soon as he shakes hands with the guy, that's when the director comes up and says, you know what? The studio called. This douchebag isn't working. We're going to have to recast. You've run lines with him before, so we want you. They've seen the dailies and they want you to go into it. And he's like, huh, that's weird. I got to tell the studio guy. And she's like, what studio guy? Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, exactly. So that's how he becomes the Blue Devil on film. Yeah. So Liz is in the room when Daniel's heart rate starts spiking, and he wakes up and pulls out the tube out of his throat, of course, the intubated tube there, and gets up and he's burning. He's starting to burn because he is not in Marai at this point. The hospital is outside of Marai. And he's like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. And that's when Woodrow comes in and he's like, he's awake. When the hell did he wake up? And Liz is like, right now. And he says, like, okay, go get a nurse. I'll take care of this. And he goes to grab Daniel and burns himself. Daniel grabs his clothes and hightails it out of there and says, I need to get out of here. I made a deal with the guy. I need to get back to Marai. And Liz goes to follow him at this point. Yeah. So Abby finds Alec out in the woods, of course, and tells him about the hunters. And she knows that he was protecting himself. And he tells her he feels more in common now with the green than he did in anything else when he was human. And she's about to ask what the hell the green is when they start hearing voices. And of course, it's Matt and company out there in the swamp. And Alec pulls a nice little disappearing trick that Batman would even like, where he just kind of shoomp. You hear the shoomp as he disappears really fast. She turns around and looks and goes, what the fuck? Where did he go? He was just here. And so she's looking for him in the woods, wandering around, of course. Avery, in the meantime, comes by Woodrow's place at his request in the middle of the night and says, well, this better be good. And Woodrow tells him about what happened with Daniel, that, the stuff that he slipped into it, and that he was basically brain dead in a coma. And he gave him this stuff and he made a full miraculous recovery and was talking and everything. And Avery says, okay, well, you're going to write up a report right now. He goes, I want you to stay up all night, write the damn report. Tell me what it is that you did. You're not doing any more tests. And let me know what's going on. And then also Woodrow says, oh, by the way, Abby is not being forthcoming about any of the information that she has. And Avery says, well, leave that to me. I can take care of her. Again, he doesn't like her at this point. So this is Woodrow's paying the price as well. Yeah, he is being, and we'll get into a little bit more about how Woodrow is paying his price. Yeah. So Matt and the other deputy are out in the swamp investigating when Matt finds one of Swampy's footprints and decides to follow it. He grabs a shotgun and goes in and starts following it. He finds some trank darts and a rabbit. And then someone comes running in the forest behind him, and it's Abby. And he's like, what the hell are you doing out here? You need to leave now. And she's like, no, you need to leave. No, you need to leave. No, you need to leave. Yeah. Swampy comes out, pins Matt up against a tree, and she says, Alec, no. And Matt's like, what the fuck are you calling him Alec for? And she says, this is Alec. He's still alive. And the swamp did something to him. And now he finally puts two and two together. And he's also freaked the hell out. And he asks Alec, he goes, what do you remember of that night? And he says, a flash of light and a shadowy figure. So, of course, he never saw Matt's face. He goes, but I know you. I've seen you from somewhere. And he goes, oh, you helped Abby down by the bridge. And so I'm okay with you now, is what he says, even though he can sense the evil in him. But yeah, he did look like he was going to shit himself when that happened. I agree with you, Viking bitch. And he also looked like he was going to throw up because, supposedly he killed Alec there. And of course, Alec is not dead. So Abby, of course, pleads with Matt not to tell anybody about, Alec and what happened. And he's getting a radio call from his buddy there, the other deputy. And he finally radios in and goes, nope, didn't find anything. Go pick me back up where you dropped me off at. Yeah. So Woodrow's wife comes down as Woodrow is working furiously on his paper and tells him it's late and it's time to go to bed and they need to go. And he says, no, he goes, I've got work I need to do. I need to finish this. And she's like, I know you need to finish this, but we need to go. Like tonight, we need to leave. And she tells him that she overheard him and Avery, and that, working on human experiments, human trials on untested serum, that's not like him. Also, what if the school board finds out? He'll lose his tenure, not to mention all the prison time that he would get for doing such a thing. And yeah, and he's like, you know what? I can't leave. I can't do it. And she goes, yeah, I know. And then we hear her walk out the door, which is kind of weird because of what happens in the next, couple of scenes here. So Liz goes over to Daniel's video store / house looking for him, and he comes bursting in through the door right after her, and he's burning up still. And he says, I need to go to the doctor. I need to find the doctor. And he grabs his keys and he goes running back out the door again. He's still burning. And he leaves, runs over to the Woodrows with his car and bangs on the window where Mrs. Woodrow is in bed. We heard her leave the house, but supposedly she's in bed. So, hey, I don't know how that worked out. And Jason's like, no, I got this. I'll go out there and handle it. And Daniel's like, what the hell did you do? What did they give me? What did they pump into me? You know what it is. And he's burning, like literally burning. And we see him turning blue. And it was probably, I don't know. It was a sound edit that they did something wrong. Who knows what was going on with that. So Cassidy is burning up pretty badly and turning blue, and Avery shows up with a shotgun and fires it in the air and tells Daniel if he doesn't, back away, that the next shot's going for him. And Woodrow's like, no, don't worry about it. I got this handled. And Avery's like, fuck this. You don't have anything handled. I'm going to handle it. And Woodrow's trying to get Daniel to go back to the hospital with them so they can run some tests. And before that can happen, Woodrow's wife comes behind Daniel and injects him, because why not? You always have that shit in the house. Is you have a needle and some, something to knock yourself out, because maybe that's the way they play games at home. Who knows? And Daniel goes down, gets knocked out as we hear the sirens showing up. Liz, by the way, had called the cops too and said, she called 911 and said, something's up and I need you to come out here and help. So, yeah. So Avery says, you know what? Finish writing your paper. Say that what you found was the Holy Grail kind of thing of drugs, and I'll take care of the authorities. Abby, in the meantime, is apologizing to Matt for not telling him sooner about Alec, and Matt understands now why she didn't leave Mariah with the rest of the CDC when she had a chance to. And she says, well, I can't leave him. I need to help him, is what she says. So, of course, Matt goes into his mom's office and tells her that they need to talk. He closed the door and tells her he needs to talk. Either that or he goes in there to go get some more whippings, because that's seems to be his bag now at this point. In the meantime, Madame Xanadu is standing over Daniel's unconscious body again in the hospital and apologizing to him, saying that she can't interfere with his destiny, but she can ease his pain. And she puts her hand on his forehead, and it doesn't burn. Her hand actually glows, and we hear his heart rate going down, and he's starting to relax now at this point. And she ends up leaving. So Alec and Abby end up in his lab out in the swamp, and they, she even says, we end up here quite a bit, which is, I thought was kind of funny that they acknowledge that they keep ending up in the same spot there. And Alec tells her about the stranger in the swamp that he met, who told him that he needs to seek out the green. And as he's telling her this, he puts out his hand and this flower grows out of his hand. She goes, what's that? And he says, I don't know. And these spores start coming out of the flower, start floating around in the air. And they kind of mesmerize both of them. And as we turn around and we see her face looks kind of shocked for a second. And we turn back to him, and it's Alec in human form. And she says, Alec? And he goes, what happened? Yeah. And that is where we leave off on the episode. So, not a bad episode, but there were some inconsistencies in either continuity, sound, and a little bit of writing as well. But everyone had to pay a price at some point. So Alec was paying the price for, of course, just stumbling upon this stuff and not leaving when he should have. Woodrow, of course, is paying the price for being in Avery's pocket. So is Lucia as well, and Matt. They're all attached to Avery. Avery is paying the price for essentially being a dickhead. And Daniel Cassidy, I almost said David Cassidy there, Daniel Cassidy is paying the price for the deal that he made with the devil, we guess, at this point, to get be stuck in Mirai. And who did I leave out? And Liz was paying the price for going after Avery with what happened to Daniel. So everyone was paying the price at some point in time, and that's what we go back to with the title. I get it. It wasn't bad. Penn Farm Girl, the flower spores was a little odd. It reminded me of Star Trek. Yeah, it did too. I was wondering when everyone was. At first I thought he was trying to seduce her with the flower, like, here, baby, touch my stamen. But yeah, it was. For those of you who don't know what a stamen is, it's part of a flower. So get your mind out of the gutter. But it is a sexual organ of a flower. So they're stamen and pistils is what they're called. And now you know. Yep. No, that is not what I say on dates. No, never mind. There's going to be something really bad at that point. Yes, you do see the tiny Shazam on the shelf. He is right there. Yeah, that is tiny Shazam. There's also tiny Green Lantern over my shoulder as well. And tiny Thor and tiny Scarlet Witch too, Joe. Let's see. I know you guys are talking about all kinds of shit other than what I was talking about. That's why I was kind of ignoring you as I was going through this. Scuffalo Viking bitch saying, I was thinking Kevin Smith 2 was a part of the swamp that materializes when the swamp needs to talk to people. He seems to disappear into the mist after talking to blonde dude. Yeah, you're talking about the stranger. So the stranger, he does have a name, which will get revealed later on. He is actually tied to Constantine, by the way. So he is supposed to show up in the matter of when there are large events happening, large supernatural events. And he is supposed to give clues, not guidance, but clues, if you will. And that is what is happening in the DC universe with that guy. A porcupine with a wood is something. Oh, God. Yeah. Do I have a splinter in my face? Yeah. Oh, man. Movie for me. I don't like your attitude. Well, tough. That's all I'm going to say. His vines can fill in all the cracks. Ugh. You just need Tiny Lobo now. I know, really. Where's the crossover with Tiny Lobo? It's coming, maybe. Sex ed with the green. Yeah. Well, just imagine what you say on dates. It'll be worse than the truth. It probably will be. Is that Darth Maul up there? Yes, it is. There is Darth Maul up at the top there. There's also the Demon. There's Batman. There's Spider-Man, Wolverine, Daredevil, and the Hulk, and Hellboy. There is a Batman off on the side, but you can't see it. So, yes, that is everything. So, Viking Bitch says, well, that's disappointing. A clue man from Constantine that will never take place. Yeah. So that was the whole thing, is they were initially talking about doing a 3-season arc of this show leading to a Dark Justice movie, which would have brought in Constantine, most likely Blue Devil, a couple other the supernatural DC folk to get a Dark Justice League together and do a movie with that. And that would have been awesome. But AT&T had to go and fuck it all up by, doing this stupid Time Warner app. I'm still pissed about that. I'm going to be pissed about it because it's going to happen. Everything I keep hearing about is that Titans is going to be the only thing that survives out of all of this, and everything else is going in its separate ways. Yeah. Good night, Fanobi. I had to work today too, so yeah. May the pistol meet your stamen. Mr. Roboto, so Sam and Dean will join them at some point. Who knows? It's all supernatural in the long run. Yes, AT&T could kiss my ass too. I agree with you, Viking bitch. Like the Dark Verse movie, yeah. The animated Dark Justice wasn't bad. What I remember of it, it's been a while. So, but yeah, it's interesting to see where we're going to go next episode. Now that Matt and Lucia know about Alec, Alec has it in for, she wants to protect her baby boy, and with Alec being still alive and could possibly, point Matt out, she's probably going to be going after him full bore. Avery at the same time is also going after Alec as well at this point, because, well, he doesn't know as of yet, but most likely he's going to learn in the next episode that what Woodrow got those samples from was Alec. And Woodrow is most likely going to know this as well. And I'm wondering how long it's going to take before Woodrow tests this shit on himself because he's not going to test it on his wife. He'll test it on himself before he tests it on his wife in order to save her. And she even said at one point, his wife, that, you know what, I just don't want to lose the man that you are, the man that I fell in love with, kind of thing. And yeah, you kind of already foreshadowed what's going to happen there. Once a character says that to another character in a show where people transform into different shit, he's done. Yeah. That'll be interesting. And most likely it'll happen at the end of it'll happen in episode 10 where he transforms, which is going to suck because we know it's the last episode. So yeah, we only have 4 more episodes left of this. That's it. And then it's done. And then we get I believe it's animated Harley Quinn is what we get. I don't know if you guys are interested in that. If you guys want me to continue doing Fridays as DC Universe night, and anything new that they're going to do until they get shit canned into becoming the Warner Brothers app or whatever it is, the Warner app, Time Warner app. Someone needs to take on this series. Yeah, they do. I mean, this whole thing about them making a Swamp Thing movie in the vein of a horror movie like The Trench is just dumb, and recasting everybody. They already have a good cast. Just take the people that you have from the series, transfer it over to a movie. That's all you need to do. Yeah, continue, Joe, is what you're saying? Okay. Might as well continue if the next show doesn't suck. Harley may be good. Harley's supposed to be rated R. This animated Harley Quinn is supposed to be rated R. There's swearing. From what I understand, there is a lot of blood. Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty graphic from what I understand. That's what I'm hearing. With Kaylee Cuoco or Cuoco, however the hell you spell her name or say her name, is supposed to be Harley Quinn. And I forget, did they get Kevin Conroy? I think they got Kevin Conroy to do Batman's voice, if I'm not mistaken. So I still don't get why they want to recast for the movie. They could have generated more interest in this one season and get some money back. Yeah, I agree with you, Viking bitch. It's one of those things that, again, I'm thinking hoses up asses with a lot of cocaine blowing up WB execs asses and AT&T's as well. AT&T execs probably came in and go, what are those hoses up your ass? And one of the WB's execs said, hey, here, try this. It's really good. Stuffed it up their ass and butt chugging ensued. And they're like, that's great. We don't need this. We're going to just make a new movie altogether. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Sorry, Joe. I know it was graphic. It's been a long day. Even though there was nobody at work, it was a long day. Yes, I went to work today because I knew it was going to be a very long. Well, it was there. No one was going to be there. That's the reason why I went. And I knew traffic wasn't going to be bad coming or going. And it wasn't. So yeah. And I didn't want to burn up any vacation time anyway. So, with that said, if you like what you see here, like I said at the very beginning of this episode, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. And if you don't like what you see here, hit the I was going to say something else. Hit the dislike button. You can just go down below in the comment section. Tell me what it is you don't like. If you want to follow when I'm going to be on live again next, hit the bell. If you already hit the bell, don't hit it again. It will unclick it. You can go into the bell settings and get as many or as little notifications as you want. My schedule is up on suspendedfanimation.com. All one word, suspendedfanimation.com. And it's also up on my Facebook page for Suspended Fanimation. You can see it there. And I also have a Twitter. I also have an Instagram. The Instagram will be blowing up during Comic-Con, I promise you. And I also have a Patreon page, which doesn't have tiers as of yet, but will once I start getting the t-shirt design out there. So, Dennis, you hear about the Batman experience at which are they having one this year? I didn't hear about that one. So I know they had one for Gotham where you could zip line down. It was some stupid thing. We went past it the year that was out. I think it was when Gotham was first coming out. I actually have a really cool and it's a really heavy GCPD badge. That's a clip-on badge and everything. I've got it in one of my boxes back here. That thing you could kill somebody with. It's like sharp and it's heavy. And that was one of the things I got. I got a Gotham shirt. I didn't go down the zip line. They had the line in a stupid place where when you're coming out of one of the FX shows or one of the FX lines, you're going right past the Gotham thing, like where you come through after you're done with the zip line. And I was like, "Yep, I'm done." I just went down the zip line. I got a T-shirt and I got my badge and all that stuff. And yeah. Please clean shirts so I can plug your stuff around the STL. Yes, I will. I will. They're not going to be anything dirty or anything like that, Joker. So it's going to be a nice shirt. I can tell you that. Is The Walking Dead really ending? The comic is, but yeah, I'll be talking about that tomorrow. So speaking of which, tomorrow is going to be Saturday morning blast off at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll be talking about all the genre news of the week and genre stuff that you guys want to talk about. Right now, this week is pretty light news wise. Yeah, that whole Walking Dead thing is probably the biggest thing that's come out. I will also be doing 2 spoiler-free reviews for Spider-Man Far From Home and Stranger Things season 3. Yes, I will. So I'll probably do those at the beginning. Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, I can get away with not doing any spoilers for those movies and still talk about them for the most part. Yeah. Everyone dies. No, I'm kidding. Mysterio was the reason why. I don't care about the Little Mermaid outrage. Quite honestly, Pen Farm Girl. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, honestly, it's another one of those stupid Disney live action movies that they're doing. Making a animated movie into a live action movie. I'm not going to bother with covering that. I don't see the need for them. And I heard Jon Favreau's Lion King is clocking in at 18 minutes longer than the original animated one. And it's all animated. So his thing is still animated. It's not using live animals. It's CGI animals. So they are just basically doing a more realistic animated version. I don't get me started on that. But did I get a butler for what? I hope I won't have to watch the video. Yeah, I like Stranger Things season 3 too. It wasn't bad. Yeah, I agree with you, Pen Farm Girl. They need to stop remaking the animated movies. Yeah, and that's what it is. It's a remake. It's not a reboot. Reboot is when you're trying to forget about something, and that's what a reboot is. Like Jonah Hex, the Jonah Hex movie, that needs a reboot. That needs to be redone. The Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd movie, Judge Dredd, got a reboot when Carl Urban did Dredd. That's called a reboot. A remake is where you have a movie that's been out for 30, 40 years, something like that, and you decide to do it all over again, like they're going to do with Weird Science at some point. So, good night, Mr. Roboto. Yeah. Have you read the original Little Mermaid story? It's dark. Nothing like I know, Viking Bitch. I know it's really dark. It does not have a happy ending. So, but you know, Disney's gonna make it a happy ending because everyone needs to have a happy ending. Yeah, there's a joke in there someplace, but I'm not going to touch it. Pen Farm Girl, if a 15-year-old female defies her father and runs off to find a prince, she dies. That was the moral. Yep. Yeah, I know. So, with that said, because we're delving into other topics that we're going to be delving into tomorrow during Saturday Morning Blast Off. So, Saturday is Saturday Morning Blast Off. Sunday, I'm off. Or am I? I am. But you may see a video pop up for me. I don't know. It'll be something that's pre-recorded. Don't worry about that. Monday is this little show that you may have heard of called Legion. Yeah, it's actually the best show on TV right now. Legion. Yes, I'm going to be covering that on Monday. Tuesday, I'm off. Wednesday, we go back to Krypton and find out what those crazy little tiny Lobos are doing on Krypton, along with Brainiacs. And Thursday is iZombie. iZombie is back after its 4th of July vacation, excuse me. And of course, Friday is Swamp Thing again. There we go. After research that one, I still like your take on 300. Joker the third says, it's not my take, Joker. It's actually, if you read the book, you can tell that's exactly what he set it up as. It is a story told by a soldier to pump up his fellow soldiers by dehumanizing the enemy. It's a tale, an age-old tale that every soldier does. You know, you tell stories about your enemy to dehumanize them so that it makes your fellow soldiers easier to kill them. That's really what it is. I'm sorry. Yeah, there's things that we do as humans in order to turn our minds off when we get into that kind of mode. And that's one of the things it is. Yeah. And that's how he wrote it. I mean, that's how Frank Miller wrote that. Yeah. It does happen. But yeah, that's actually what's interesting about that story too. Frank Miller was a good writer at some point in time. He just went a little bit nutso. I don't know what happened to him, but I think it was around 9/11. Is he had a lot of friends that died in that, and I think that kind of broke him a little bit. And yeah, he went a little, and probably should get some kind of professional help. I have a copy. I think it's someplace over here, or it's in the room, in the bedroom, I think. But yeah, and the artwork is beautiful. If you actually read it, Joe, the storyboards you can show where Snyder used those as storyboards essentially, so they are taken directly from the comic. Lynn Varney is the name of the artist who was working on that, and Frank Miller is actually a good artist in his own right as well. So he worked on Daredevil back in the 80s. So he wrote and drew them. Yeah. So either way. If it wasn't that, the only way sociopath, yeah, you never know. Okay. With that said, I'm going to let you all go slip off into the green as it was. Pen Farm Girl says, I saw an old movie about Xerxes and he was a normal king. About halfway in, I said, wait, is this the same guy from 300? Yeah, that was the whole thing of it was the whole perversion. Like when they're sending in, I can't remember the name of the deformed guy who goes in and he's talking to Xerxes, and you're seeing all the decadence, the um, debauchery, all that kind of stuff that's going on. And that is something that you would tell somebody else that these people are amoral, that kind of thing, and that they're doing all this kind of stuff, and they're having sex with their sister or whatever, and yeah, I mean that's the whole thing. So yes, I know, Joe. I'm going to update it at some point in time. Once the t-shirt stuff is done, I'll update that stuff. It's tied into it, trust me. So with that said, I'm going to let you guys all slip off into the green now. And I will see you tomorrow for Saturday Morning Blast Off. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Thank you to everybody who made it this far into the video. Thank you to all the new subscribers as well. Hopefully you come by tomorrow for Saturday Morning Blast Off. It's a blast. That's all I'm going to say. And don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may end up having Swampy pull a flower out of his hand and try to roofie you with whatever those spores were. Good night, everybody.